It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You know, you had just mentioned it, when we were talking about Trump and the unity speech. You can get out there and say, look, we need to, we want unity because these are the values that we believe America is about, and we can unite on this. And you can get a significant number of people that will agree with you. You're never going to get total unity in the United States. That's not going to happen. And you're not going to get it now between the Republicans and the Democrats. As you saw, Biden last night, no, I'm not going to use over-the-top rhetoric, but since he is a threat to democracy, then I'm going to say he's a threat to democracy. Yeah. So nothing's going to change, and we knew it. We said it. Nothing's going to change because the differences are too great.
Yeah.
Where do you limit freedom of speech? Where's that limit going to be?
Yeah.
Well, right. I'm offended by what you say. You won't use my pronoun. Sorry, there's no agreement there.
Right.
Where's the compromise there? There's no compromise. I don't know where to compromise. Where's the compromise on pro-terrorist anti-Semitism, that mindset? Where's the compromise?
Right.
Not a compromise. There's no compromise to be had. You can't be united. You can't sit there and say, well, I'm willing to go along with that.
Yeah.
Where's the compromise on if a man says he can be a woman, or if a man says he's a woman, he feels like a woman, that makes him a biological woman? Where's the compromise there?
Yeah.
Where's the compromise on critical race theory? Where's the compromise on, whites are basically systemically racist because their culture is ingrained so deeply in them that the racism is there no matter whether they know it or not. And if they say, well, no, I'm colorblind, of course they're not colorblind because they see color. And then you respond, yeah, I see color, but that doesn't mean I judge by the color. Well, all whites do.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the compromise on that mindset?
Right.
There is no compromise. So it's impossible to be united because one narrative that has grown over the last 20 years in the Democrat Party is, sorry, there's no place to compromise. It's unacceptable. Where do I accept? Where is the compromise on identity politics? Well, we judge people, we stereotype people by the group that they're in, not as individuals. We stereotype groups. We don't judge individuals by their character.
Yeah.
What was the latest one? Oh my gosh. Oh, Jason Whitlock.
Yeah.
Oh, he just went. I thought he was gonna blow a gasket on. Being on time is white supremacy.
Yeah, right.
Where's the compromise there?
Right.
Being on time. If you say, look, you need to be on time, that's white supremacy. Remember, that comes from the whole Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Duke Medical School. Mm-hmm. Doctors on time. Now, maybe that's the exception to the rule.
Because apparently at Duke Medical School, you don't have to be on time for class.
Well, no. I guess it's because, when you go to the doctor, you're always waiting an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. That didn't even make sense, but because it's so stupid. It's like, no, being on time. No, being on time, punctual. No, that's white supremacy. We can't. Where's the compromise there? Where's the unity that we can hold on that position? There isn't any. Because they're ridiculous, stupid arguments.
Yeah.
That ignore things that we know are self-evident, when it comes to the radical transgender movement. And you and I said this a long time ago because we were on this a long time ago. We said people don't understand because we used to get the flack from our own listeners. Why are you guys focused on this? Because it's huge. It's liberalism attempting to make you believe something that is absolutely unscientific and true by intimidating you or making you feel guilty. Mm-hmm. And the guilt is such dumb logic Well, I wonder how can you be a biological woman if you're a biological man? Well, that's it. You're a transphobe. What do you mean? I'm asking a question. I'm really yes, and by asking that question, you are transphobic because that demographic has one of the highest rates of attempted suicide in the world.
Yeah.
So I can't question why they think what they think. Yes, that's right. Where's the compromise that I can't have a discussion on your opinion because somebody might commit suicide if we do? Does that work for every topic that you're not allowed to have a conversation on it? That the conversation in itself, out of sheer curiosity, what does this mean? Well, I don't understand this. Can't have that. We shut down the argument. If you bring it up, you're transphobic, and the government is going to punish that kind of speech from now on. Where do you find the common ground to have unity? And that's why I've said the only way you can have unity is because you have common ground. We've had unity in the United States because people believe in the Constitution of the United States. That's where the unity comes from.
Right.
You have shared values. If you don't have shared values, how do you have unity? You can't.
Right.
You may tolerate somebody who's different than you, but you can't unite with them. It's impossible because you don't agree on the same things. You're so diametrically opposed. And the problem with saying that we can all unite is the fact of if somebody is denying self-evident things that are there, that are clearly self-evident, it's impossible to unify.
And when you just, again, open the door, you don't have to change the party platform. You're just opening the door. We'll hear you out. We'll give you a moment on stage to say your piece.
Yeah. I can hear you. I'm always, in fact, I want the discussion, but what you're telling me is you can't have the discussion.
And that's the difference, is that the Democrats can't have that. Imagine that happening next month at the DNC. Imagine them having people come up and say, well, I don't always agree with them. Boo! You're gone. They've got so many problems right now. That's the last thing they want to hear, is ideas that they differ from. And when you can set yourself apart saying, I don't know, we had this person on stage, that person talked. And ultimately it led to Thursday night, of course, our nominee. And that's the point of the convention. But also, we wanted to open the door. That's fine. Because the difference is the mindset, the approach to all of it. If you're going to have a conversation about these things, it really is just like the debate. Well, the Democrats don't want a debate. They don't want anything on the issues. Biden just hours ago on television. Oh, well, no, he's still a threat to democracy. I got to say he's a threat to That's another lie, and he knows it. But he can't get away from it. Just as we said yesterday about this time, you're not going to be able to change the fundamentals of the Democratic Party because it's already set in motion. Don't step in front of that train. That train is going, and it left the tracks. It left the station a long time ago, and it's about to leave the tracks. November 5th, there's a good chance it will leave the tracks. But you cannot even ask a question. It's part of why Biden is so defiant. Think about this. Here's a guy who's been in public service all of his adult life. And you've got the other guy who's been in public service since 2016. Technically, since 2017, because that's when he was inaugurated. And he's winning and he's winning in the polls, and he's winning over more and more people, and you're losing more and more people. Biden is frustrated on so many levels, but also Biden comes in after decades of being in public office and watching his own party go to what he thought was the inevitable conclusion when he starts ramping up everything to the radical nature that they always wanted it to be, and came in. Remember when the liberal media was going, whoa, dude, slow down on the executive actions in your first 3 days in office. What they were saying is, ho, ho, ho. You're getting too much attention here, negative attention. You got to go in and play it cool. And he doesn't know anything about that. He's looking around going, what's wrong? This is the agenda, right? This is what we want done. And that's part of his defiance, is because you're not going to tell him, Jack. He knows this is what the party wants, or what the party always wanted. And why is everyone pretending now? And why are so many people leaving the room before I'm done? These are the things right now that are probably the most confounding to him. While on the right, it's, oh, okay, well, if the Teamsters president wants a moment on stage, okay, all right, say your piece, and, we'll listen. We're opening the door, and that's all. There's no commitment beyond this. That's not an endorsement by the Republican Party. We'll give you a moment. You've had certainly a place in American manufacturing history, and keep in mind, it is the Republicans now, not the Democrats, that are the pro-manufacturing party.
Right, and that's how you sell it.
Yep.
And as we have stated for the longest time, and we've been very critical of union leadership, not the membership. I've stated before, and I was a United Steelworker and part of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Mm-hmm. I was involved one time of the guys in my small local, because I was a college graduate. They said, could you look at our contract, because we don't trust our business, the business manager who came in, because we were such a small local. We didn't have our own leadership, and he's the one that did the contract.
Yeah.
And they didn't trust him. They said, we trust you. Look at it. And I said, sign it, except for there's only one negative. If you sign it, I lose my job, because I was at the lowest end of seniority. And I don't agree with seniority. If somebody's doing a much better job and you've been there 2 weeks longer, I believe in meritocracy. Right. And so... Right. But I was still a union member. So union members disagree. Union members have been disagreeing with management. Union management has agreed with illegal immigration for the longest time. The rank and file doesn't. Mm-hmm. So many organizations have very different opinions, yet they're in the same organization with the same goal. The thing is, don't be afraid of discussion and opinions. Right. The reason that the Democrats say Trump is Hitler is because that ends any conversation.
Right.
And any conversation is based on, prove to me that Trump isn't Hitler. Well, easy. He hasn't committed a genocide.
Right.
But they will just say, we're not going to talk to you even about it. Well, now I'm not going to talk to you because you won't admit it. Well, he's not there yet, but that's what he's going to do. It's very easy to say that's what he's going to do.
Right.
In fact, Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro got in that discussion. We'll get to that, because that has been something that Republicans have been saying. So wait a minute here. So you said he's Hitler, and you truly believe that he's Hitler, that he would do exactly what Hitler would do. And then he shot at, and now you're saying you have him in his prayers. Well, if it was really Hitler, would you have Hitler in your prayers?
Right.
And would you wish him to be better? Oh, my gosh, Republicans have been pounding that for the last couple of days. Yeah. But there's a great point to that.
Absolutely.
And then we heard, as we know, before the shooting even happened, late last week, it started coming out. Who wrote it? Who wrote the article? Was it Politico? I can't remember who wrote the article. that said, no, Democrats really don't believe that Trump is Hitler. They're just saying it for politics.
Right.
Well, think about it. You're saying that somebody would commit the genocide of 6 million Jews. Now, it's interesting that you're saying that about Trump, who backs Israel, and the Democratic Party doesn't, and many Democrats are pro-Hamas and pro-killing Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is Hitler. And that has also come out, too, going, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
Thing is, it doesn't work anymore.
No.
People have seen Trump in action for 4 years. They may not like him. They may not like his personality. They may be saying, okay, this guy can do a better job than Biden. Nobody thinks he's Hitler.
Nope. No.
Nobody really thinks he's Hitler. That's a whole con. And it helps stop the discussion. Democrats do not wish to discuss the issues. Republicans can confidently discuss the issues because they believe they're right on the issues.
Yep.
And when you're right on the issues, you have, and you know you're right on the issues, and you've done your critical thinking homework, you want to debate.
Yep.
The people that don't want to debate know they can't defend their side.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
U.S. rice growers are looking at a really good crop right now. USDA's latest forecast is for a crop of almost 222 million hundredweight.
That is up 3.4 million hundredweight year over year.
Or about a 1.5% increase. This from USDA Outlook Chairman Mark Jekanowski. He says despite the larger supplies of U.S. rice,
Imports are projected to reach a record 45.5 million hundredweight. But exports are pretty strong as well, especially long grain exports to the Western Hemisphere, including Mexico.
But he says those exports won't be enough to prevent a buildup in U.S. rice stocks and a pull down in expected prices. USDA says prices for the old crop have averaged $17.70 a hundredweight, but for this upcoming crop, we could see that season average price dip down to $15.60, or a decline of about 12%. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll get to some of the funniest Hitler analogies because it's nuts. Coming up here in just a couple of seconds here. I just quickly, because we started the show talking about the whole Secret Service, but this is a New York Post headline. Secret Service blames local police, say they were tasked with securing properties surrounding Trump's Pennsylvania rally. The fury, when I read that, that's the biggest load right there. You're fired.
Yeah. It's so maddening. I told you, watching the images and videos from Saturday is becoming tougher and tougher on many levels. Number one, how close it was. Number two, the fact that it was a deadly event. And there's a family that is grieving and still waiting to hear on the others who were injured and praying for everybody here involved. And it was just, it's traumatic. The numbness is kind of wearing off now for those of us who witnessed. I can't imagine for those who were on the ground and what the former president went through and what the grieving family is going through. But then now you look at all this new information, and it's maddening. I mean, it's just absolutely maddening, the incompetence here.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Okay, some audio cuts to play here. By the way, download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you want on our podcast, because our show becomes a podcast.
And thank you.
But a couple of audio cuts here. I want to start with this one here. This is Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro, and it really is relating to something that we have said for the longest time. We had said a long, long time ago, and I mean a long, long time ago, because the Hitler stuff started with George W. Bush, to the point where Bill Maher a few years ago said, well, yeah, we said that, you know, George W. Bush and Romney were Hitler, but Trump really is.
Yeah.
And we said this for the longest time. If you're calling somebody Hitler and you repeat it over and over again, remember, this was a 20-year-old man who attempted to assassinate the president and murdered a supporter of President Trump. His entire life, all he has heard from the Democrats over and over again is that you have the Republican Party, which is always led by a Hitler-like figure. And understand, Hitler committed a genocide that killed millions of people. But that's what you hear. They are about genocide. They're about xenophobia. They're about racism without any explanation.
Yeah.
Think about it. Whoever explained on the left why Donald Trump is Hitler or Mussolini
Well, they can't.
or Stalin? Who's ever given the explanation? We've said this many times before. Sometimes people say, well, you guys, I thought there was a little bit over-the-top rhetoric. And but we backed it up with a particular fact to prove our point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If we've said something and we've never used violent rhetoric, ever, because there's no need for it. And we had mentioned it yesterday when Turley was going through the number of Democrats and the things that we have said. He goes, well, I don't believe they really want anybody hurt. And I said, I don't know that. I think some do. And how do I know that? Because we've been doing this 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. You and I now, 19 years together, almost 4,600 shows, 23,000 hours, and we've never used violent rhetoric.
Countless people disappointed. And yes, we're still doing it.
Exactly. Some idiots willing to pay us. But we haven't done it. Why? Because we don't feel it's appropriate to do so. And I don't even ever want to be accused of using violent rhetoric.
Right. No.
Number one, because to me, as a talk show host, if you do that, that's intellectual laziness.
Well,
I don't need to do that. I can win 100 and you can win 100, and our audience, our great listeners, you can win 150 to nothing every single, and it's a hockey game, not a basketball game. You can win 150 to nothing just by sticking to the facts and truths, and you can destroy the opposition's argument.
And when you get to the point of the violent rhetoric, it tells me you're beyond desperate.
You can't prove your point.
You can't talk the issues, so you start screaming. It's the kind of stuff that Libs of TikTok is posting all the time. You know, and the videos, and these people are just, I'm sorry, but they're unhinged. The one actress whose video was going viral again over the weekend, I don't know what it would ever take for me politically to get to that point of anger. She's livid and unhinged. And when you're saying those words, the words have meaning. But here's the problem with the left. They've got this virtue signaling thing, and everybody's got to be angrier. I'm hurt more than you are. Look how hurt I am. You don't look like you're hurt. You look like you're unhinged.
Yeah, I'm a bigger victim
I'm
because
the
I
bigger victim.
scream louder.
Yes. And if he wins again, I'm going to stay in bed for 100 days, not just 3 days. I mean, over and over again.
So Trump's not only Hitler, he's responsible for quiet quitting?
I think so. Hopefully it will be quiet.
All right, let me play. I want to play this from Piers Morgan and our colleague, because he works for our company also, Ben Shapiro. Yesterday. Here we go.
The moral justification for assassinating Hitler is very clear, right? Most people would agree that Adolf Hitler should have been killed for what he did. So if you apply that brand to Donald Trump, to a warped, deranged, impressionable young mind, who knows what the motivation of this shooter was? But it's not entirely surprising that people may want to eliminate the new Hitler.
That's exactly right. And again, all you have to do to understand how ridiculous the argument is to say, actual Hitler, he gets there's an assassination attempt. We say, well, we wish our best to actual Hitler. We hope that actual Hitler and his family are doing well. Our prayers go out to actual Hitler.
and that's
so
what's
great.
been happening.
By the way, if you need a floor cleaner, Ben Shapiro is a good floor cleaner. He totally mopped the floor with Eric Swalwell recently, and so he's demonstrated that if you need your floors cleaned, he can help you out. He's just great, but he's absolutely right when you rephrase it that way. Our prayers go out to actual Hitler.
Right.
Because that's the kind of phrasing they use on the left.
Right.
And we all know what it is. We all understand, all of us critical thinkers, and I really believe many of the rank and file that have voted Democrat understand this. They know this. And they're not the ones, not every Democrat is using that kind of language in terms of the rank and file. And this is the whole point. You have to ask yourself what is true. You have to ask yourself what the actual truth is. You also have to ask yourself what your opinion is based on. What are your opinions based on? Your opinion of one person. And if you're repeating something somebody else told you. Someone said this about traveling, being a world traveler. They said, I quit my job. I became a world traveler because I was tired of seeing the world in pictures and through somebody else's eyes. And it was one of these moments I thought, wow, that's a great way to phrase it. So in your opinions, when you have discussions with family, friends, or even yourself, you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, ask yourself what it is that you actually know. Michael Rappaport, here's a guy who was one of the raging liberals in the past, and now he's come around in a way that you want to see people come around when they see the result of everything that, quite frankly, they were a part of at one point, but at least he said, after doing my homework, I learned what I was wrong about. One of those people also, he wasn't raging left, but at one point he was a never-Trumper, and now he's on the ticket. His name is JD Vance. And he tells you that he was wrong. Barry Weiss, she tells you, I was wrong about Trump. These are individuals who didn't agree with where he was, who didn't agree, but how many of them were going based on information that was told to them by somebody else, including and most importantly, the activists in the liberal media?
That was completely false.
That was false. And so you have to ask yourself, if you're a rank and file Democrat, you really have to ask yourself, and I really encourage you to do it. Ask yourself, when you're issuing opinions, having discussions with friends, and even, again, you have to be honest with yourself. And can you answer those questions honestly, what is it that I actually know about the individual or the values of the Republican Party or people who vote Republican? What do I actually know about them? Is it what I've been told and I've been repeating? The words of others? The mindset of others? Well, you can't have that experience as a world traveler unless you actually get out there and find the truth yourself.
In fact, saying that, I want to play a little bit of JD Vance because he's going to be called every name in the book, including an isolationist, which he is not. You know, that accusation was thrown out at Trump, and we said, no, Trump's not an isolationist. But let's hear from JD Vance himself when he spoke recently to the American Conservative.
I think there actually is a hard-nosed strategic argument that we can make for why we should care about Israel too. Let me just make a couple of points on that topic. So first, Israel is one of the most dynamic, certainly on a per capita basis, one of the most dynamic and technologically advanced countries in the world. Dan Senor wrote about this in the book, The Startup Nation. And if you look at what Israel is doing just with the Iron Beam system, for example, this is a system that would allow America and our allies to actually achieve some parity with the people who are sending drones and rocket attacks and so forth. There is no way that we can long-term fight a missile defense battle against people if they're paying 1/10 or 1/100th for offensive weapons that we are paying for defensive weapons. And the Israelis are doing the most important work to actually give us missile defense parity. That's a very important national security objective of the United States of America. And that's something we're working with one of the most innovative economies in the world to accomplish. There's another reason, actually, motivated by my view that America can't do everything. And that reason is quite simple. We have to sort of ask ourselves, what do we want out of our Israeli allies? And more importantly, what do we want out of all of our allies writ large? Do we want clients who depend on us, who can't do anything without us? Or do we want real allies who can actually advance their interests on their own with America as playing a leadership role, but our allies actually doing something too? So my biggest criticism of our approach in Ukraine is that it has no strategic end in sight, and it's not leading anywhere that's going to ultimately be good for our country. But the second biggest criticism I make about the war in Ukraine and our approach to it is that we are subsidizing the Europeans to do nothing. The Europeans are not carrying their fair share of the burden, especially when it comes in provision of weapons, and they're deindustrializing their own country at the same time that they say that Putin must be defeated at all costs. If Putin must be defeated at all costs, to our German friends, then stop deindustrializing your own country in the name of a ridiculous green energy policy.
There you have it.
Reasonable starting point to have a discussion.
Yep, that is about as, I think, thoughtful of an approach as you, and also blunt.
Yeah.
What you hear there is what you would have heard and actually did hear to some extent from a younger Donald Trump when he was on countless talk shows back in the day. The same approach, the same words.
And that's not isolationism.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
It's saying we're not your parents.
We're not going to carry everything while you guys change your policy to make it more impossible for you to carry your own weight in this. And then who ends up bailing you out?
Right.
We end up bailing Europe out every time. Well, we've gotten green energy. You know, we had this pipeline deal and blah, 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 and blah, blah. No, you've got to stand on your own.
That has to be the goal.
That has to be the goal.
We'll lead you, you help you, but your goal has to be.
You've got to be strong yourself.
And you've got to be a partner in all of this.
That's right. There's a reason.
Not a client.
There's a reason on a plane they tell you to put your own mask on first before helping others. You've got to be strong before you can help others, and that's the only approach.
Oh, I just thought I was more important than anybody else.
Well, that's what they wanted you to think.
Okay. 866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So now the thing is, because really, I mean, Inside the Beltway, we'll cover all the different speeches and everything else on tomorrow's show for what happens on this Tuesday. But really, the table's been set.
Yeah.
You've got Trump, you've got the post assassination narrative that is out there from both sides.
Yeah.
And from the Democrats, it's like, okay, it's over. Now we're on the attack again.
Yep.
Biden made it clear last night,
right?
When he said, "Well, I can't help it. He's a threat to democracy, so I got to say it's a threat to democracy."
I've been saying that. I can't say it's a lie now.
Right.
When we all know it's a lie.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.